episode 2 of season 2 of our Investment Talk Thursday. So today we're not just having conversations, we are sitting with experience. Our guest today is a finance expert who has spent years in the field of making smart financial decisions, helping people, financial strategy, and whatnot. So let's not go long into the introduction. Today, I have with me the one and only Mr. Richard Olasupo. You're welcome.
Thank you.
It's been a
Thank
while
you.
since I had you on my seat. How do you feel?
I mean, it's good to always be here.
Last I heard, you are now in the real estate sector, right?
Yeah.
You are in all sectors, but now your area
Actively.
of you're actively in the real estate sector.
Yeah.
How is that? How is that experience like?
I mean, like people always say, right? There is no wealthy individual on this planet Earth that doesn't have a stake in real estate, right? So I saw the need for it, and then I decided to, just jump right in.
Okay, so I know I'm wealthy, right? Like extremely wealthy, but I don't have a stake in real estate.
Oh, really?
So is that
Then
Does that
I
count?
must correct that position there. You are not wealthy. You are not.
Okay, so now talking about real estate,
Okay.
why is land considered the most safest and profitable way of investment?
Okay, so land, right, is quite relative, right?
Okay.
Of course, it is the most stable, right, because it's an asset, it's a physical asset. You can see it, you can own it, right? But then again, it just depends on how you position it, how you strategically place it. Because of course, it can be an investment, but then is it profitable? Is it bringing you money? You have to not just own land or not just buy land. You have to be strategic and in your positioning and in your investing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So can you explain? Because I don't understand how all this ROI thing works. So how is it that I get land today and then the next 2-3 months I'm hearing that your ROI is so and so right now? How does that work? Because I really try to understand.
Okay, so return on investment is actually based off of, especially when it comes to land now, right? Because there are different assets and different returns. But when it comes to land banking or land flipping, the return on investments comes into play when there is some level of development on that said property, right? So, say for instance, infrastructure coming in, making up road networks, making up some certain level of development. That is what brings in the returns, right? So you can have a land and then nothing is going on there. If it can just sit there for 10 months, for 10 years rather, in and around the location, nothing is going on. Of course, you're not going to have returns in that way. And that's what I mentioned earlier, right? That it's not just owning land, but it's actually positioning yourself in the ownership, right? So ensure that where you're actually buying, there is actually some level of development going on around or going on said property. So that's what determines returns.
Okay. So I've heard of people, or rather, currently, you cannot see land of, let's just say, 1 million. Can you?
Well, I mean, you can in places like.
Now, what if I don't want in those places?
Okay, if you don't want like in a place like Otupo, right? I think I heard at some point that you're from Otupo. Is that right? Okay, that being said, right? So if you don't want land in places that you would see for 1 million, I mean, in Abuja, since we're in Abuja, let's consider Abuja. So in Abuja, right, there are different local governments or local councils, as it's called it, and then there's a statutory title document, which is the FCTA, as we know it, right? So for lands that have the FCTA title documents, right, you cannot see any FCTA, whatever, if it is in Cuba or it's in Gwagwalada, you can't see land for 1 billion unless FCTA statutory, but you cannot. It's not just because, of course, to get that title document alone, a lot of money is spent, right?
True.
Spent into it, so you can't get a bigger amount. But then you know that okay, if you put your money into it, it's certain that it's secured. It's of course development actually is coming faster because the government is like has a hand in it, like the federal government. I mean, in this case, has a hand in it. So you cannot just be there and just sit empty because, of course, as I know, if you're having an RO, for instance, now you know you have to pay for CFO, and paying for CFO, you don't want to pay that amount of money and then not want to like get some return, being that no one to like develop it at least because if it's not developed within a particular period of time, the government has the right to revoke.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
that's
now
how
for
it works.
someone, excuse me. So for someone now that earns on an average level,
Okay.
if I'm permitted to use civil servants for example,
Okay.
how can they budget themselves into land investment?
Okay. So for every land investment, right, there is a there is how would I put it? There are always budget friendly, kinds of land, right? So if you're looking at if you're super someone like just like you mentioned, they are budget friendly pieces of land, right? We have in different locations in the airport road, in Wagalada, in Kuje, in in the outskirts, sort of not really the outskirts, but then in places that are not so already developed. And of course, there are payment plans also in play, right? So I mean, from 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, right? For different companies now. I mean, so yeah, you could lock into one that is budget friendly. Yeah, you can not that you would key into without necessarily spreading yourself thin.
Okay.
Do you understand? Because an asset is only an asset if it brings in an economic benefit or an inflow to you. An asset wouldn't be an asset if it's causing a lot of pressure, a lot of tension, and all of that.
Sorry, I heard you mention Airport Road.
Okay.
Last I checked, Airport Road is now on fire.
Of course it is.
How am I going to fit my budget into that? Because along the Airport Road, we have Hutupolan Golf Resort, which is now the top of Abuja. And we also have Omnia Prime as well. So as I'm putting myself in the shoes of a civil servant, how am I going to squeeze my budget into that? Airport Road is hot now. Like I think that's like when people see Airport Road, they are rushing towards that.
True. Okay, so budget wise, right? Of course, it's wise not to spread oneself too thin, right?
Okay.
So if as a civil servant, say you have, for instance, a budget of 5 million or 10 million naira on the airport road, if you have a budget of 5 million naira on the airport road, it's not. It might not necessarily work, especially if it's an FCTA approved, piece of property, right? Of course, we still have places along the airport road that are AMAC title document, as a local council title document, right? Of course, those ones will be lesser in terms of the pricing, yeah. But then if you want places like an FCTA approved properties, you can't get for anything of 5 million naira on the airport road, even if it's a 150 square meters. Right, I think the least you would see is for a 7 million naira.
Sure.
Right, and of course you plan around it. That's why we have payment plans. So I know there are real estate companies like Footstool Estates now, right, where you would come in, have conversations with them based off of what you need. At Footstool Estate, right, as a company, we are customer centric, such that we are big on the experience we give our customers, right? So if as a civil servant you have a budget that is maybe not according to what the company stands for. Say for instance, now we work with 3 months payment plan, and then as a person, as an individual, you would like something longer. Say for instance, 6 months, right? Of course, you come to us, have conversations, and then we'll try to see that okay, we make you a landlord even with your budget. Of course, that doesn't mean that if you have 2 million, you come to us. I mean, it needs to be quite what's the word? Realistic.
Okay.
You understand? Yeah. So it just based off of what your budget. If your budget is something smaller, the 2 million, 3 million size, then for a start, you shouldn't be starting with something that is starting out at 10 million naira, for instance. You should work with something like the budget. Because of course, in Abuja, as much as people know, as much as people have, it's what your money is what you have that you can get. I mean, in places like Korodu, we have FCT approved project, and in that kind of place, we have lands for 2 million, for 3 million. So really, around Abuja, you can see lands that are actually within your budget range, just based off of what you actually want to get in return for that particular property. Like what you have in mind. Do you want to use it for investment? Do you want to use it for banking? Do you want to use it for to build and rent out, that kind of thing? So that goal in mind will push us to actually advise you on what best fits the option. So whatever budget you have, actually, there is, as long as it has a need, as long as it has something you want to address, of course, there's always something to go around it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now, maybe something comes up. I'm already investing with you guys because, as you mentioned, you have like a 3 to 6 month payment plan. Something comes up, something personal comes up, and then the money I'm saving up for my investment, I kind of eat into it a bit.
Okay.
Can my payment plan be extended?
Well,
It's not rigid, right?
no, it's not rigid. It isn't. Like I said, as a company, we are customer centric, right? So yeah, we have certain policies in place, right? Of course, we know the reason for policies and structures, right, to set the tone of the company, right? But then there are cases where they're actually quite flexible. We're not rigid. Like based off of the conversation we have with the customer, right? We make allowances every now and then.
So, what does real life financial, or rather, what financial risk is involved in real estate, and how does Footstool Estate help to minimize that with their clients?
Okay, are you asking that as a company or in terms of investors as clients investing in the company?
As clients investing in the company?
Okay, what financial risk do we help cover them from?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Because, in as much as you claim to be transparent with your clients, there are certain things that you don't give out to them
Yeah.
because of, you understand?
Yeah, of course.
So, yeah.
All right. So as a company, one of the things we do, right, even to minimize the risks even on our end, right, to mitigate it, is that we try as much as possible. In fact, we go all out for our properties, right? Before acquiring a property, we go all out to do research. We go all out to confirm that it's actually an FCTA approved, you know, property. We do not do local council documents, local council properties, because of course those actually have issues, whether right certified or not. They have issues, you know, along the line. So we as a company we try to mitigate the risk of our customers, of our clients, by making sure we acquire only FCTA approved projects. Because of course those are the projects that are 100% certain, safe, secured, and you know, out of the way, locked in. So that being said, if our customers actually purchase us, we can be certain that they have nothing to worry about. Of course, we go all out to see that okay, we do all necessary. We do the development, we do the infrastructure, even within the estate, to see that our customers actually get value for their money. Of course, being the returns, which you mentioned earlier. Yeah. So that's one of the things we do to mitigate this.
Okay. So now, before I let you go, even
Okay.
as much as I hate to, I will definitely have to let you go off my seat.
Of
So
course.
before I let you go, what advice would you give to someone that is a newbie, someone that is not as wealthy as we are
Okay.
in terms of assets and you know?
Okay.
So what financial advice would you give to that person that just wants to start up their investment portfolio?
All right. So as someone who first time buyer, right? What I always tell most of calls that I receive, right, is that they just start, right? You don't wait to feel ready. When it comes to real estate, I mean, the price you see today, you can't see them in the next few months,
True.
right? So just start. As long as you don't have to feel ready, right? As long as you make a commitment, I mean, things are always going to happen to see that you actually come through with that commitment, right? So of course, as long as you do your search, you know, because like I always say, always make sure to do your search. If you're going to get a property, always, I mean, go all out to see that property is actually very valued and very much, you know, true as I say it to be, right? Before making any commitment, of course, just start. I mean, once you put your leg in, I know of someone who, wanted to go for a 3 months, payment plan, but then some things came in and then he had to actually have a stretch of like 7 months, right? But then the person is actually a proud landlord at the moment, and that was his first property. Right? So just to start. Once you start, I mean, doors open, and then before you know it, you have your property in your name, and you get.
So I should just, anyways, they should just start.
Yeah, they should just start.
Please start.
Please
Start.
Actually, and of course, come to Footstool Estates.
Yes.
Right? We are here to help you navigate the journey.
He has been their FBP
Correct. Thank God you got that right. Correct.
for a few years now, so he definitely knows what he's saying. So thank you, Mr. Richard. I'm so happy that you came to my seat today. It's been a hustle trying to get you in here.
I mean, we're busy, right? So what can we say? But it's been an honor, actually.
Yeah. So thank you for coming to our today's episode, and we trust that you like, share, comment. Tell a friend to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Footstool Estates. So thank you, and we'll see you on our next episode.
Of course. Ciao.